is this is not just an exercise for us. This is for you. So please drop your questions in at any point. So welcome all the time to share what it is that you want to learn and what questions that you have. Great. So I am, hello, Jeff. So great to have you here. We've got AI assistants here too. Wonderful. Um, and I am going to go ahead and share with you a bit of the background of Storytell just for a few minutes to give some context and then dive into some use cases so that we can all learn together. And also we want to learn from you too. But I'll just kick off the show here. So a couple step process, just sharing my screen and moving into our slideshow about Storytell. Oh, and if you don't use Copyless, it's an awesome program to superpower your copying and pasting productivity. So I'm Erica Anderson. I forgot to introduce myself. That's me. I'm the Chief Customer Officer for Storytell and one of three co-founders. And what is Storytell? So it's a B2B AI platform. And the whole purpose here is sense making, to make sense of the world around you, to distill things down to what really matters, from structured data, like, think quantitative, unstructured data, think qualitative. So all those Slack messages, Zoom transcripts, et cetera, that until now has really had almost no value, even though they take up the majority of our day. So not only were you making sense and gathering things together, but from that, getting actionable insights. So we're working from the same source of truth at an organization. So it's really aligning organizations through data so that we can take actions that support our business and are in alignment. And so there's so many ways to explore and create with AI. And here are three things that are particular to our platform, which we call Smart Chat. So one, this whole idea of really choosing what you are interacting with. So the purpose behind Storytell is really to upload data and interact with it. And you get to choose, how big is that set of data? Is it everything I've uploaded? Is it a subset? And what subset is it? Trusting the results. So from the beginning with Storytell, it has just never been okay for us to say, AI is a black box. You just don't know what it's doing, how it's coming up with its responses. Maybe it's right, maybe it's not. And well, if you've heard of the term hallucination, that was a big problem in the beginning. And as the models improve, less and less so. But our algorithm, which sits on top of other models, takes you to the source. So where did this come from? How do you come up with this response? We have footnotes in line with our chats, so you can go in and check where it came from. And then back to this idea of aligning people through data, so that you can come to your own conclusions based on the data that you've uploaded. And I'll just talk through, I know this is a gorgeous file, or sorry, slide. It is not my area of expertise. So luckily, a new person joined our team who is much better at this than me. So he'll be improving this for next time. And great to have Florida represented. Thank you, Nick. Probably a little bit nicer weather than what we're getting in the Bay Area right now. So three things to know in terms of how you're organizing your data. And I'm just going to move where I am so we can see all parts of the screen here. So like I said, Storytell, we use that to upload content. So it's not just to chat with the world's knowledge, which you can do with ChatGPT anytime. And then once you've uploaded that, you're tagging it. So think of tags as folders. So it's a way to organize your data. And And so for instance, here, this is a, Angela, if you haven't dropped this in chat already, please do. So this is our workspace. So it has links to the smart chats that we're going to use during this webinar. And and this tag here will also have, once we have this recording of the webinar done, then we're going to upload the recording to that too. But like, okay, this was part of the content for a webinar. I'm going to tag it as webinar. So all the webinars. And then let's say I'm also giving live talks about Storytell. Well, then I could tag those as talks. And then all of these are my company's events. So that is the group. So group is purple here, tag is blue. And then there's going to be things that don't belong in the events group, right? So ideal brand voice, that's not an event. So I just want to clarify that relationship before we dive into the platform itself. And just checking to see, okay, great. Thank you, Angela. Angela is on the case. So I'm just gonna stop sharing here for a moment and re-share. So this again, if you don't already have an account with Storytell, go ahead and create one. And I am going to just have us dive into the platform. And so for each of our webinars, we create fictional personas. And the fictional persona that we've created for this one, her name is Megan Cruz. So doesn't exist, but she could. And she is at a media agency and she's a content manager. So I'm going to share my screen again and just show you how she is using Smart Chat and give you some ideas of how you can bring this to your content creation. Okay, so we'll be going into this in a moment, but just to orient you, we've got Smart Chat here. And so you've got two tabs basically. You can click on our logo to go back to log out, and you can click here on your personal profile to go to your organizational knowledge. So if there's other people like you, for instance, Jeff on the call, I know you've got colleagues at your organization. And when you click here, then you can see what your colleagues have uploaded and made available to the organization. So what you can, like, what's been made available that you can chat with, create content from, etc. So world's knowledge, that's like ChatGPT basically, right? So you're not using your own data. So what we're going to focus on here, because it's really the point of our product, is chatting with your knowledge. So within here, we've got, just like I gave you the preview around groups, and then tags. So like, oh, I want to talk with this whole group, and maybe I forgot what was in here, and it's going to tell me right here. So talks and webinar are in there. So when you have something selected, you can just go click on all my knowledge, essentially to clear out whatever was selected. And then let's say you want to go to podcast recordings and see, well, what is in this? What files are in this? So one way to do that is to click here on this tag, and that's going to take us to this second part, to the Content Manager tab. And so, okay, we've got, again, it says all my knowledge, we've got the groups and the tags, and you can just rearrange your screen if you're not getting the space that you need. So you can also search here, but it so happens I just have 2 podcasts uploaded. And I want to see what is in this file. So something about Charlie Munger. Okay, what is that? And so these are 2 episodes of the Acquired podcast. Anyone listen to the Acquired podcast here? Lots of tech stories, but also just company stories, the founding and how they run their business, etc. So just highly researched episodes. And so this was probably one of the last interviews with Charlie Munger before he passed last year. And so we've got a summary of the content. We've got the start of the original content here. We can see our AI tagged this as Charlie Munger. we have tagged this as podcast recordings. And then this is its accessibility. So it's available to anyone with the link, right? This isn't a private document just for me. This was actually a public podcast that anyone could listen to. If I want to add more tags to it, I would add them here. So this point, maybe I'd say investment advice, right? And then I have to enter, and there we go. Or if I was searching for tags here for some reason, okay, biography. So yeah, you could say this is almost like a biography, right? And I could choose that. I don't really know that it is a biography, so, but that's where you can search. And you could always chat directly with a file. However, unlike with a tag, it's not going to save your chat history. But that's absolutely an option. And let's say, okay, I didn't quite get what this was about. I actually want to view the original content. Here it is. Here's the interview itself. So it's going to take you right to the source file so you know exactly what's going on. All right. So we've done our whole intro, and now we can go back to the smart chat just by saying, I'm going to chat with this tag. And I did do some things up here already, but I want to go through them live with you because that's the whole point. And again, if you have any questions, awesome, Nick, great to hear that you are a fan. Please drop them in. What do you want out of this time? What is it that, what's the amazing things that you've been able to create with AI? What questions do you have? What struggles are you running into? All right. So we've got this workspace here, right, about like for this webinar. So again, Megan Cruz, also, she's not just any content lead, she's a great content lead. And so we've got some resources here. And let's say that Acquired is one of our clients that we're creating content for. And it's like, oh, I really need to know what their voice is, or how would I describe their voice? This kind of who am I conversation that can actually be a huge project and take from hours to days to months, depending. It's something I used to do manually for folks. And or when I say folks, I mean companies. All right. So there's different prompts. Maybe I'll just refresh because let's see if the prompts I added, great, okay, are showing up here. So first we're going to create a voice document. And I know for those of you who joined a previous content webinar, we did this, but I think most of our guests are brand new. I'm just going to add this. So I actually want to do a little good prompt, bad prompt. So like create a voice document, right? So there's something called few shot learning with models. And okay, this is probably because I already created a voice document here. And so it is actually using what I've already chatted. So in this case, unfortunately, I'm not able to show you a bad prompt. That is usually not going to work as a prompt. So at any point you want to stop answering, you can just do that. And also you can give us feedback, like what quality of response was that? I want to copy that. I want to download it as a PDF. I want to see the footnotes I've been told about, right? Which are going to show exactly where in the episode something's coming from. Or I want this to be in Markdown, right? So it looks a little nicer. Okay, so I failed at making a bad prompt. We'll try again a little bit. But here's what the good prompt looks like that still got us that same statement. And so it's a particular approach to a voice document. There's many kinds that you can make, but this whole even over statement. So one good thing over another good thing, right? And so what are we doing here? We're defining exactly what a voice document is according to this method and giving an example. And then saying, create this, do it in a markdown table, have each row be different. This is what I want in the first column. I want a 100-word summary in the second to explain it. And then in the third column, I want an example of it. So we'll do this again. We're going to get, I think, a very similar, if not quasi-identical content. So again, Markdown, this is another way that you can select that here. You can also share smart chats with people. So this, for instance, Angela, if you can go ahead and share even just the podcast recording smart chat, I think it's also in the working document. And so just looking at what is being created. So again, conversational over formal. So Nick, curious if to hear from you, would you agree that this is essentially how Acquired communicates with its listeners? Insightful over superficial. Like I said, it's deeply researched. Then you've got a summary why. Okay, depth, thoughtful analysis. And then here's an example from it. Great. Okay, so that's step one, is creating the voice document. And then let's say I have to create something SEO focused, or just like, content marketing. So we need more content about Acquired, but that's really in their voice. And it's, guess what? It's not going to be the host of the show creating it. So for instance, let's say that they're going to talk about Bitcoin. So before we go to that, in here, I've got the next prompt. So rewriting in a voice. And so you would go ahead and copy and paste this. And then in each of these brackets, you're going to have to remove the brackets and put what is the voice. And also you have to insert the voice doc. So we just created a voice doc. All right. So in this case, I'm using the Acquired voice. I'm just going to keep checking in here. Great. Good to hear it, Nick. And back we go. Okay. So this is the Acquired voice. Now it says insert voice doc, right? And so I'm going to copy here and remove the brackets. Our platform doesn't like brackets too much. And so there it is. Doesn't have to look beautiful. You just need it all there. And again, this is called few shot learning, where you are really directing the model so that it knows what to do, right? We've said, this is the voice. I want you to rewrite content in that voice. Do you see that here? It says, next, you will rewrite the content I share in the Acquired voice. Respond with this. Okay, so it responded with that. Great. And so let's go back to this whole, all right, there's a news article about Bitcoin. Let's say I need to create a blog post that the Acquired podcast is going to publish based on this content. So I'm going to copy it and go back. It should go here and drop in. So yeah, should just be able to drop it in. Let's see, I didn't put in a prompt, so we'll see. Maybe this falls into the bad prompt. All right. So instead of that news voice, we've got, hey folks, big news in the crypto world. US just rolled out the red carpet for Bitcoin, right? So we've got like some personality in here. And is it conversational? What's the big fuss, right? So if we go back and think about this voice document, is this conversational as opposed to formal? Is it insightful as opposed to superficial? Is it anecdotal over like 100% data driven? Is it pragmatic instead of theoretical, etc.? So what's the takeaway here? So right here looks like we've got a pretty simple blog based on that content. So that's a great start. Now, what's something that they use a lot on the Acquired podcast? They talk about 7 powers and taking the 7 powers framework to understand company journeys. And so I'm going to go back. Prompt that we've got in our workspace here. And the whole idea here is mashups. So for instance, one thing to take into account is while you are working with your data set, this, I'm just going to remove that formatting. This model, any model that you're using, has been trained on the world's information. So there's lots of frameworks that it's already been trained on: SWOT analysis, the Scrum framework, Myers-Briggs, uh, DEIB, etc. So like, how does it relate to those things? And looks like it's again kind of in table mode here. So, and I didn't really say what I want to create out of it, but and it's I think Hamilton Helmer's framework, which last time I did this prompt, it actually picked up. So it could be, oh yeah, let's drop this as a table, or rewrite the above content as a LinkedIn post. And again, that could be a good prompt, or it could not, because it does it doesn't like, are all LinkedIn posts the same, etc. So we're getting some emojis here. And apparently, according to PR agencies, actually longish LinkedIn posts tend to be read more often. So here we go. We've got a LinkedIn post version of this. So essentially, how do you take existing content and create a lot more out of it? It could have many, many lives. So at this point, I'd really love to hear your questions. And what is it that you were trying to do? What is it that you want to create? And I can keep working here. So for instance, okay, so we've got podcast recordings and events. So I'll just keep showing some functionality. For instance, let's say, so first I'm gonna clear out and then I'll go to the group. And so now just these two tags are what we're chatting with. So I'll go back, chat with this group. And here we've got the question library. And so so these are prompts that we've already added. So everything that is purple here, so that's a default. That is in the Storytell account you're using. And then let's say, oh, I want to add a prompt here. So for instance, this is something that we added of how to create a prompt. So let's say my very last prompt that I made was what, about acquired 7 powers. And let's say I want to save that, and and then I want to make it more general to this content. And then I could add to it. So I'm going to add to the library. Great. And it's done. And then acquired 7 powers. So I just go ahead and hit that, and we can just see what would happen. And then I would say maybe write a blog post based on the events content and this framework, just to try to get it out of a table format. So that is our prompt library. If you want to go back to it, you just go ahead and open it. If you want to close it, you do that. Okay, so we're getting a blog post about this. And we didn't really say what voice it should write in, right? So we're outside of the acquired universe. And so it's a bit, I don't know, you could say formal, etc. So there's some things you can do if you just want to switch up the voice where it's actually going to know. So rewrite the above content as if you were the Easter Bunny. Yeah. And looks like maybe it is still generating right now. Right. So it just finished generating. So now you can, give feedback. We do look at this feedback so that we can improve our algorithm and tweak the accuracy of the responses. So sometimes, prompts don't all have to be pages long in order to be successful, but let's see. So we're just seeing what is the model. Think about the Easter Bunny. What is the Easter Bunny approach? Great. So it's about egg production. And why is it that Easter bunnies have eggs? I don't know. Um, but that's just a cultural myth we've all subscribed to in the US anyway. It seems like that's probably different country by country. Um, and and here we go. So again, we've got the footnotes here. Um, but what is it that you'd really, want to create around events? I'd really love to hear from you all. What kind of content are you creating? What is it that you want to create? What prompts are really working for you? What prompts are not working for you, etc. So I'll just check in on chat here. Okay. And let's see. Um, I think, Angela, one thing, could you just like drop into chat a Zoom feedback poll? I was thinking we always want feedback on everything we're doing so that we can continuously improve. Ship and iterate is the life of an early stage startup, and hopefully just always, right? Um, but let's say that, so within events, we've got talks, and I just want to revisit, okay, what's under talks? So using courageous candor, so that's a framework that I've developed and Storytell has adopted. And then, and I did give a talk on that. So let's see. And then this is a TED Talk on how to stay calm when you know that you'll be stressed. So let's see from these uh, webinars and these talks. I'm going to clear out here and then go back to events here. What are the main points? So, right, let's see, right, the main takeaways from this content. What insights can we glean based on these webinars and talks about human interaction and how we can use AI? Lists the response in bullet points. So it's like, what do I want and how do I want it? You can think of working with AI as having a intern, right? So they're new to your company. You have to onboard them. This is what great looks like. So give an example of what you would want it to look like. I didn't give an example in this case, but with the voice document, I absolutely did. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Jeff. This is great. Okay. So, longer form content, a guide or an ebook. That is a great question. I haven't tried that, so let's try that right now. Write an ebook with 10 chapters based on these events, and I'm going to let it know what is it that we're looking at, which include a TED Talk on how to stay calm when you're stressed, an introduction, and you can misspell, to courageous candor, a framework on communication, as well as 2 webinars on how to use AI. What is it that we want? We can weave something through the story. So you're welcome to jump in. Great to know that you found out about this via our website. I think that's what you mean. And if that's not what you mean, miracle, let us know. So what is it that we'd want to weave through an ebook, and like who's the audience for the ebook? So these are things, again, just think of if you were giving directions to a human to do this, what would you say? Well, you probably need to do the same with AI. It will do something. It's just probably not going to do what you wanted. So let's see. What could we weave through here? Well, let's figure out first who is the audience here. So, and there's also like you are. So you are a the author of humorous children's books, and the audience for this ebook is busy adults who are nervous about how AI will impact the world. We're trying to address any concerns and quell them if possible while being honest and not overly persuasive. Please weave a magical donkey of throughout the ebook. Okay, so we will see what that creates. And yes, absolutely. We believe feedback is a gift. We also say feedback is fire. You know, without it, like what's going to engage us so that we really grow? Okay, so the Magical Donkey's Guide to AI Candor and Keeping Calm. All right, maybe some people would I want to read this ebook. So we've got these different chapters, and it's interesting. The responses are actually pretty short. So I would say this is more like an outline. So, okay, nervous about the future, Dudley. I think Dudley is a great name. Um, and a wise old owl on staying calm. Great. Candor in carrot fields. Nice. Um, frameworks and fables. Okay. This is great. Even in a world with AI, the principles of clear and honest exchange remain the same. Webinar by The Watering Hole. So it's AI is here to make things easier, and really loving the chapter titles. So advanced uses of AI with big data, that was one of the webinars we uploaded. And then, yeah, what are some of the concerns about AI? And yet he has to, has all this data overload. I'm sure it doesn't take that much data for a donkey to feel overloaded. And then revisiting this, Courageous Candor, and using that to have open discussions about AI ethics and recap, staying calm, etc. So that was an excellent outline. Please use it to write an entire ebook with in-depth, lengthy chapters as per the outline above. There's all sorts of tips and tricks around prompting. So some people have learned, like if you say, I'll give you $100 tip if you do this right, it will actually, interesting. It will actually give you a better response. So looks like we're starting to hit up against some of the limitations of our platform in terms of lengthy chapters or something called context windows. But we can still provide a little bit more than we did here. So as you'll see, we've got something similar to Eeyore, if y'all are familiar with that character. And just adding to each of these. So it looks like it's giving us a starting point. It's not taking us all the way there, but this is where humans pairing with AI, that's where the power is. So content for student, like teaching to a target students. Great question, Miracle. So what would be I would love more information about the kind of target student population that you're trying to teach. So for instance, let's say create it could be a story. Let's see if we're doing, I mean, students can be any age, right? So it could be create a story about a cool donkey. Sorry, I got on a donkey kick. For a group of middle school students who are anxious about fitting in and looking cool in comparison to their friends. Use the attached content, you could say attached, above, etc., about courageous candor to help them understand how to interact with each other in psychologically safe ways that don't feel too weird. Okay. That is a very specific stab in the dark, Miracle. So if you've got, and I'm guessing you do, something more specific about the student body, etc. So we're still in the storyland here. And yeah, this is where I think the footnotes probably not as important. Okay, so ollies, interesting. I don't even know what an ollie is. Oh, ollie's right. Clearly not a skater here. So his wise grandmother, that's me, told him about courageous candor. Okay, we don't know how we might look weird trying. Okay, this is awesome. So we're just skating and learning about falling being part of the journey. And how it's okay to be real about what you're scared of. So becoming the coolest donkey in Green Meadows for his kind heart and his wisdom. So we'll see. I don't know how much that matches most middle school kids' experience, but I suppose in a story, anything is possible. So Miracle, if you have any follow-up questions, please drop them here. And also we'll be sharing the recording. And you're welcome to book time with us and customer experience. We always want to learn from our users. Just your number one, you are the reason that our company exists. And I think without further ado, we'll just go ahead and close it off here. And hopefully we can all in some ways be like Donnie the donkey. Um, okay. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. And I see we've got one chat left. Great. Yeah, thank you too, Miracle. Appreciate it. Okay. Bye. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Let us know what you want webinars about. We're doing them every week. Okay. Thank you.